So welcome everybody to another OSBD iTF video podcast. And today I'm absolutely delighted that we are chatting with Sima Gonsai, who so interesting, all the background that Sima's got. And I'm hoping that lots of that stuff will come out. Known her for a long time and just really delighted that she's with us today. So Sima, why don't you just give us a quick introduction to who you are and then we'll kick off.
Okay, so, well, you know my name, Sima Gonsai, and I see myself as being a director in Screendance, a visual artist, and also a director in film. So I kind of do short documentaries looking at the history and heritage of the region, which is Birmingham, where I'm staying at the moment. Yeah, so that's me really. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
And you originate from up north, don't you? So.
Oh, totally, yeah. The minute you said that, I could hear it coming out of my voice. Yeah, so I was born and bred in Blackburn. I did the classic thing of, staying there until I was 18, and then went to university to study numerous different film courses, and then kind of was slowly coming down from Blackburn to Salford to Manchester and then Birmingham, and then kind of, I think I'm an adopted Brummie now, is how I see myself. And staying here for good. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then, so for you, I mean, what was it that first sort of drew you to film? And obviously you've expressed that you went to university, but kind of as you started to emerge as a filmmaker, how was that for you and how did that begin to happen?
Okay, so I think about that quite a lot. I was really lucky, I think, when I was at my secondary school, a module came out in media. And, when I was at school, I wasn't particularly academic at all. I had dyslexia as well. So this media module came up, and I thought, well, that would be a good thing for me because I'm a very visual person. So I did that. And then that kind of spiraled after that. So I feel very, very lucky that at the age of like 13, I did something and then stuck to it. So, and that just, I did really well in film. It was just the right sort of medium for me to communicate and write and make things, be very practical. And then, just carried it on, carried on in film, really. But at the time, around that time as well, there was a lot of, being from an Indian background, we have Diwali and lots of different ceremonial things that happen throughout the year. We have lots of different festivals. And I would always be, because I was the media girl, I was always asked to film all of the festivals, just standard, put the camera on a tripod. And it was quite nice to kind of be asked to do those sort of things because, nobody else was studying media when I was growing up. I think it was a really new thing they were bringing into schools. And so, it was like, oh, get Sima out. She'll put the thing. And it was nice to be in that sort of position of, being seen as a bit of an expert within those circles. So I did that for years. And I guess that's what made me continue doing film, until I left to study at uni.
I mean, that's really interesting to hear that. Just one thing that would fascinate me though is that obviously, in terms of you then sort of moving on from kind of being in that position where people wanted you to capture stuff around your own culture, your own traditions, your own community, etc. When you started to branch out, and this was going to be your career, this is going to be what you were going to do with your life. It wasn't going to be just some kind of hobby. Was that something that there was no barrier to that, or was that something that you found a little bit of resistance towards? Did you struggle at all with the sense in which, well, I don't see many role models out there that look very much like me, so how's this going to work out for me?
Yeah, so I think I didn't face any barriers really, because I think it was really just about luck. So yes, I mean, that being introduced at my secondary school, I think my father's quite academic, and so he wanted me and my siblings he came to this country to give, for an education, for us all to have an education. So I think, my dad at the time was very encouraging that if you're good at something, continue it, And I remember going to college and wanting to impress my family by saying, oh, I'm going to do psychology and sociology. And he took me aside and he went, look, I know you really want to try your best academically, but it's not your thing. It's not your thing. I mean, I was very dyslexic. So, and he said, I know you're interested in these things, but I really think you need to do the media course that has just opened, which is why I'm lucky. The Blackburn College had just opened up a full course that had a full TV studio in it and stuff. And he said, I really think you should do that. And he actually signed me up on it. So he was very kind of encouraging in the sense that, yes, you need to go to college, you need to go to uni, you need to be academic, but I think you need to play on your strengths. And I'm really glad that he did that, because otherwise I would have done what all the other students were doing at the time, particularly Asian background, who were going into being doctors and, studying subjects that were very academic, and I was just wanted to follow suit. But he was very kind of like, no, do what you're good at. So that was encouraging. And then I went to uni to do it, so I was very happy about that. But I think when I spent many years in uni after that, I think it was more of a, oh, you're still doing this now, And I went to 3 universities in the end, and I came to Birmingham to do a master's, and yeah, and then my age was getting higher and higher, and I think by then they were kind of like, oh well, she's actually going to do this. And I think maybe in their minds they were thinking, yeah, she'll get a few qualifications, that'd be good. But yeah, and so now they're totally, very, very supportive and very, very, very happy with what I'm doing. So I think I was lucky, really, to be encouraged in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fantastic. I mean, that's what I think everybody needs, really, isn't that kind of baseline encouragement of family and parents, or a parent in particular, to encourage you on, particularly, I guess, for when, within creative stuff, always there's an element of kind of self-doubt that can creep in at times. I mean, do you think that's kind of, obviously your experience wouldn't be unique, but do you think in general, sort of, young women coming from your background, would they get that kind of support to get into the media? Do you see things that are around that are helping to change that at all?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think particularly now, as these sort of courses and being able to use, the technology that we have access to, is a lot more encouraging. A lot more people are doing media. Media is a part of our lives. Self-promotion, the internet, all of these things are there. But I think when I was starting out, none of those things were there. And what was the biggest thing was BBC. That was the end goal. If you were from an Asian background, the end goal was you will get a job at the BBC. That's a really good job to have, because it's a job for life. And I think in some ways that's a bit harder, because what I wanted to do was not that. I didn't want the job at the BBC. For different reasons, for lots of different reasons. I mean, dyslexia was something that held me back, which is why I always thought that's not for me. When I was growing up, that is. But I think today, I don't see a lot of female Asian directors / programmers, because I'm programming Screendances, but I don't see many women that are independent filmmakers. And so I hope that is being encouraged a lot more. But certainly within my networks, I don't see a lot of that. But I'm hoping that now, with the access to technology and access to getting onto courses, things like that, that being an independent filmmaker is much easier than what it was when I was growing up. So it was certainly hard. It was great. I was being encouraged, but then, I think there's an air of disappointment that you've not got that one job that everybody feels you should be in, which is in broadcast. Any sort of channel, some sort of broadcast was the end goal. So yeah, I think I'm unsure if young people are battling with that at the moment, whether their sites are for broadcast. But I feel like the net is much wider now. And I hope, like, the second generation, third generation Indian heritage families are now opening up their minds to sort of different platforms that media can be on, and so it's not just broadcast TV. It can be anything from social media to video content to making short films and feature films. But yeah, I mean, I don't see many women, but I just hope that changes.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that the whole diversity issue has been, there's lots that have been going on. If you look at the BFI and regional kind of agencies and organisations and academia, etc., I think things have slowly been, going in the right direction. I think the interesting issue that you raise, I think, is something that kind of pans across all kind of cultures, backgrounds, and traditions quite often, where young people are wanting to go into, particularly if they're wanting to go into independent filmmaking, as opposed to, well, I'm going to pursue a career at Sky or the BBC or wherever it might be, which sounds a little bit more secure. Actually, if they want to take that route where they're maybe going to be a freelancer or self-employed or set up their own small production company, etc., and have ambitions to write, produce, direct, or whatever it might be, that's always going to be a little bit of a harder and a tougher path. So question 2 is, why did you have the drive to do that? You've mentioned the dyslexia stuff, but also I know that you really have a fantastic creative drive and appetite for the things that you're doing. So maybe just give us a little bit of a clue about how you navigated that and found yourself to where you are today.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that really, I guess, cemented why I wanted to go into film. And one of the major things was coming from Blackburn and being brought up in a town at the time that has such diversity in its people, and listening to the stories from my community of growing up in a place like Blackburn and settling in a place like Blackburn really gave me a really good background of stories. People constantly telling me their story of coming here, and the struggles that we all faced in integrating and becoming part of a community that was different to ours. And we ended up growing up in quite a white working class area of Blackburn. Because my parents were very much they were all for integration. And so I think subliminally, all of these kind of teachings were in my head. That in parallel with a very kind of strong Indian heritage. And so I danced for a couple of years. I did Indian classical dance, which is a form of the Hindu religion. And so I did that for about 3 to 4 years. I wasn't very good at it, but I did do it for a few years, and it just so happened then that the two kind of collided. So there's something very visual, rhythmic, colourful, vibrant about Indian classical dance, and musical, and it's all about telling stories and folklore. And then you're growing up in Blackburn where you've got the challenges and wanted to be part of the community. Somehow they both started to come together in what I was making. So as I was going through university and learning just the nuts and bolts of how to use a camera and how to edit back in the day, you at VHS and whatever technology was, limited technology there was out there, the more limited technology you have, the more storytelling skills you got to adapt, because it's not about what you can quickly film on your phone and then turn into something. It was about doing the research of what your ideas were. Very much then my work was full of a lot of lived experiences of my own and those of the people that are around me. And then this rhythmical side of dance and music, it just kind of came through. So I kind of was really interested in telling stories through documentary telling, as well as then making Screendance work, which is basically a collaboration of music, dance and film, and bringing those 3 languages together. So those were the significant things. When I came to Birmingham, I'd never been in such a diverse city before, and actually coming here, I'd never seen so many Asian people before. I was like, this is really different. I'm not used to not used to this. And it just so happened that, you know, the Arts Council in Birmingham were really trying to encourage artists from digital backgrounds, film backgrounds, to make work, you know. So I kind of went for it with Arts Council. I had no idea how to write the bids or anything like that, but I just so happened to say to them that, you know, I'm into film, I'm into dance, I'm into movement. You know, I really want to do something. And so then a project called Cycle Dialogues was born, which was myself going off on a bicycle to about 7 countries across the world on my own, exploring countries and places through lived experiences. So kind of exploring how people live in those countries, people telling me their stories, but then I'm still getting the physical side of it, the movement side of it, which was being on the bicycle and moving through the countries. And I think that was like a signature project for me. And I was able to experiment with all of these different ways of working, bringing together the stories and the physicality of experiencing things. And then after that, you know, I think my work kind of started to define itself in Screendance. That was quite long.
Yeah, and as you know, I'm a huge fan of your cycle diary stuff. There's, you know, the cycle dialogues and everything, the amazing journeys that you went on. So yeah, viewer, you know, go and check out those. Just explain a little bit about Screendance, because some people might not, you know, really understand what that means. Is that pop video? Is it more artistic? Is it, you know, is it storytelling? What is Screendance?
So Screendance is a collaboration between cinematography, dance, basically. It's been called many different things over the years, but it is an art form and a genre in itself. It's so niche. A lot of people still don't know it's around, but it's actually been around for many years. You know, I wouldn't know how many years. I don't know, maybe 40, 50 years. And so it's where the two languages meet. So it's framing, it's creating a film, a very artistic, some would say abstract and experimental film, that it tells a story through the body, through the use of the body. So it still can be narrative based, but you're not scripting it. It's not with words. It's told purely through movement. So that's what Screendance is. You know, it's very hard to define it because it has so many different sort of arms to it. You know, some people can go down the academic route of really looking at the language between what the camera and the body is trying to say, and some routes can be purely narrative films that are told through dance and the camera capturing it. And some are maybe just very, very abstract. But yeah, so Screendance is an ever evolving art form, I'd say. It's certainly not pop video, because pop videos are selling music. It's not about selling anything. It's about the three things coming together from the very beginning, and you creating something using all three art forms, which is, in my eyes, dance, music, and film. So it's highly collaborative. It has exactly the same production process of any short drama or any feature. It's not a documentary. So I'm just trying to eliminate what it is not. But you have exactly the same production process. So, you know, you've got the same budget, you've got the same crew. But obviously those crew members need to be versatile in the sense that they know how to capture film. And the addition to the crew members is you don't have a cast, but you have dancers, but you have a choreographer who is almost like co-directing the piece. But I'm the director, so my role is usually the director that brings all of that together and kind of brings that vision to life on film.
Fantastic. Well, we'll when this is all made and goes out, we'll put some links, you know, in the description and stuff, so people can go and have a look and experience that for themselves. But that sounds really fascinating. I love the idea of bringing the language of, you know, what cinematography does and what dance and the body does, and how they can kind of help elevate, I suppose, one another for the kind of the audience's experience. of what you're trying to tell. Now I'm not going to say your age or anything or how long you've been doing this, but you've been around for a while, Seema. If you could go back and say something to your, emerging self in those first years as you're beginning to kind of see where you're going, think what you're doing, is there anything that you can kind of look on now with the experience that you have, so far to say back to yourself, perhaps to help you at that point that might be useful to our viewers?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I would say to my younger self, and I'm talking to the 13, 14, 15-year-old who liked film, that hold on to your uniqueness, because, at that age, it was not an easy time to grow up, in a town like Blackburn. And so you do everything you can to kind of integrate, but also fit in to a certain extent, So some of your uniqueness, which back then would have been A, I'm Indian, B, I'm a girl, I'm a female, C, I'm interested in all these different things. I'm very, very sporty. For some reason, I'm very, very sporty. Cycled everywhere in Blackburn, which is probably why I cycle now. You've got amazingly unique pot of amazing elements there that make you Sima. And so I would, if I was to go back in that time, I probably don't, not just from 14, I would say up until you're 18, 20, 21, all of those years where you still, a bit confused about, not confused about your identity, but kind of a bit challenged by it, because you feel different, you think you're different. I would say, no, embrace your uniqueness, because that's what will get you where you're going to be. And I think particularly if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have done the work that I now do with disabilities. If I look back on the last 6 years, most of the Screendance work has been all about working with learning disabled dancers or disabled arts or dance. And it's because I have, I guess, that insight, and for me, I'm incredibly inspired and passionate about making sure that I profile uniqueness in some way. And we're all unique, but I certainly would want to have told myself that when I was younger. Yeah.
That's really good, and it's fantastic advice for anybody really starting out. I guess in some ways, it's brilliant advice for anybody of any age, particularly if you're trying to emerge as a filmmaker, because I think it's very easy to think that you're going to have to be a certain way or a certain type of person or just do certain types of things. And actually what people are crying out for is that uniqueness, and that uniqueness of voice, which is so that's great advice. Well, just to end on briefly then, just obviously we've all been living through this kind of crazy time, and COVID-19, the pandemic, and everything that's affected and changed things. But I know it's certainly not deterred you, and you're as busy as ever, and you're dynamic in all sorts of things that you're doing. So just give us a little bit of a kind of, what are your hopes for 2021 going forward?
Wow. Well, certainly now, since COVID, there's been a lot of interest in people diversifying the arts and moving into digital forms, and everything's going digital at the moment, which is why I'm so busy. And being able to tell story, how the arts is a really powerful medium. And so I've been kind of working with more charity-based organizations who are trying to use the arts in order to profile who they are and what they do. So for mental health or World Mental Health and things like that. So I think the future for me is to just carry on kind of diversifying myself in terms of what I can do with film. And I've got quite a lot of different projects in the pipeline that I really I hope will take off by April next year. And I think it's thinking of, yeah, it's certainly making me be more imaginative with the way that I'm working as well. So I don't know
Great.
if that answers your question.
Yeah, no,
I
well,
forgot your question, to be honest.
well, I guess it just sounds like you got a lot of stuff that you're obviously doing and in development on, and hopeful despite the pandemic of where you can be heading. And I think you're right. I think despite, and this is often the way in life, isn't it, when hardships and difficulties and struggles come, it also cracks open new potential and new opportunities. And I think that's the one thing that I think potentially we can be as independent filmmakers, you know, is we're quite adaptable, you know, and entrepreneurial in some ways at looking at how things might be shaping up. But it's been absolutely brilliant to chat to you, Sima, and that's been some really great stuff that you've sort of talked through there. So thank you so much, and I'm sure this won't be the last time that we chat to you, or that you're in some way involved in what we're trying to do with helping to develop, you know, emerging film talent amongst young people. But thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thanks, Pip. It's been nice to be able to have a chat and just go down trip down memory lane as well. It's been good.
And thank you for watching, and don't forget, go and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Please share, make sure this is a completely free resource. You know, go and have a look at the OSBD website. If you're between the ages of 18 and 25, we've got a free online film community there that you can join and become part of. Yeah, all the best for everyone. Take care now. Bye.
See you later, Pip. Bye. Bye.